I personally love horror movies, but I think we can all agree that they're not made for children. When I was a child, I talked my mom into letting me watch a horror film, but I'll get to that in a minute. The purpose of this speech is to shed light on why horror films are not meant for kids. We will be discussing the effects of horror movies on children and why they can be detrimental to a child's health. It is observed that watching horror movies can cause long-lasting effects on young kids like nervousness, escapism, fascination, and nightmares. When I was a child, I begged my mom to watch this vampire movie. Long story short, I slept with a scarf on every night out of fear of a vampire biting me in my sleep. You know when dogs stare at nothing? Well, my young brain thought that my little poodle mix was sensing the vampires that wanted to suck my blood. Totally traumatizing. Victoria's Advocate states, it's not uncommon to hear of adults who are afraid of clowns because they saw Stephen King's It's a Child, or can no longer swim in open water after watching Peter Benchley's Jaws. This can be attributed to classical conditioning in which objects or events become associated with fear. An unusual noise in the house can have a perfectly logical explanation, but movies have trained people to instead expect a killer on the loose. The effect is multiplied when the subject was conditioned while they were still young. I remember the paranoia that I had, but I was also too scared to tell my mom because none of us like to hear, "I told you so." Media is now at our fingertips and kids have access to. Children are curious and interested in everything, and that's how they absorb the world so well. We learn the most when we are interested, and that is exactly why the images children see on TV can get stuck in their little heads. Even biologically, children are meant to soak in everything they learn. Children have absorbent brain tissue and thinner skulls with so much more development to occur. Children are explorers and not afraid to be themselves. Because of this, it's so easy for them to have a first-time experience and for it to live in their head for a while. They long to understand things, so if they're exposed to advanced material, this can be very stressful. When someone becomes scared, the internal effect includes a rise in cortisol levels. Many people may argue that horror films and books can encourage kids to build confidence, but I believe this to be wrong. Some material has a rating because it's safest for children, and I believe in most cases we should abide by this. Victoria's Advocate also said that psychologists, however, warned that this form of entertainment often leads to intense adrenaline rushes, and this affects individuals differently. Some people might relish terrifying scenes while others could experience acute distress. This is especially true for children. Their brains are not yet able to process threatening and disturbing images, even if they are make-believe. They might immediately react to frightening on-screen stimuli by starting to tremble or burst into tears. Sleepless nights, sleep riddled with nightmares, and a loss of appetite are common after effects. This is an important thing to understand because a rise in cortisol levels in children can cause mood swings, stunt their growth, and cause possible obesity. Psychology Today even said children with relatively high or relatively low levels of cortisol are more likely to experience learning deficits and cognitive delays. In the end, it's up to the parent or guardian to choose what they think is appropriate for their child. The research information is just always good to know, such as the detrimental psychological effects and how these can cause an increase in cortisol levels. And also, let's just keep kids with their innocence. There will be another time to watch horror movies.